Good morning, everybody. Like I mentioned in my video yesterday, which I realized that I didn't share with you guys. So, after you watch this one, go back and see the video that I posted yesterday. It's just a bunch of announcements as to what to expect this week. I realized that's why you guys were a little lost. Some of you guys messaged me and emailed me to see if you guys were doing the right work. For the most part, all of you guys have done the same work. After you take the practice quiz, submit it like we have been doing in class. Screenshot your grade and submit it to the Shobi folder. Okay, I have a Shobi folder open for all the classes with the link to the Quizlet. The link to the Quizlet is also on your Plus portals. So once you take the practice test, take a screenshot of the grade and submit it. That's going to be your grade for that assignment. So make sure you do that. Make sure you turn it in. The folder closes tomorrow, right? Or the due date is tomorrow at 8 a.m. But I will be accepting it up until Friday. Okay, I will be accepting that practice test up until Friday. And after I post this video, I'll go ahead and put the actual quiz up. Okay, it's going to be a little different than we're used to, but we're doing the best we can with what we got. Okay, so like I mentioned in the last video, which I'll mention again now, I'm going to go over the words that are going to be on that test. Okay, I'm literally reading off of the Quizlet. I'm going off the Quizlet. I'm going to say the definition or what the word is, and then I'll tell you what the word is. Okay, and we'll go through all 21 words. I believe the test is only going to be 20 questions, 20 words, so there will be one word that's left out. There'll be one person or word or place that's going to be left out of the quiz itself. It's just an easier round number to work with. So out of the 21 questions, you'll only have 20 of them. Okay. So I'll take this time now to also remind you guys to log into your Plus portals and your Shobi every day. I know that I get repetitive with this and I tell you guys this all the time, but you guys logging into your Plus portals is the way that the school's taking attendance of and making sure that you guys are attending class, right? And it also gives you the upper hand in double checking and triple checking when your teachers post stuff up or when things get updated. So make sure that you're logging into your Plus portals and to your Shobi account. Okay, so make sure you guys are doing both those things, and you'll stay on top of it. For the most part, all of you guys are staying on top of your work, are turning everything in. There are still a good chunk of you that haven't turned in any assignments from the first week, or a couple of the assignments from the first week. So get on it. Come on. So with that said, we'll dive right into these words. All right. The first one, the definition is a rebirth or revival. Okay, a rebirth or revival. And this definition is really the foundation of this entire lesson, because the definition of Renaissance is a rebirth or revival. Okay, so and that is exactly what we're talking about right now. Okay, so that's the first word. Renaissance is a rebirth or revival. Okay. The next one is a medieval philosophical and theological system that tried to reconcile faith and reason. Okay. A medieval philosophical and theological system that tried to reconcile faith and reason. Okay. This was the rebirth of the education system. Okay. This was that reintroduction of the education system in scholasticism. Okay, so again, scholasticism is a medieval philosophical and theological system that tried to reconcile faith and reason. Remember that when they started to emphasize education again, they tried to blend faith and science, so faith and reason, into one melting pot. Okay, they tried to combine it as best they could, and to always include faith in everything that they did. That was the birth of scholasticism. Okay, so again, the definition for scholasticism is a medieval philosophical and theological system that tried to reconcile faith and reason. Again, guys, I'm reading this straight from the Quizlet. I'm going over this stuff straight from the Quizlet, so if you follow along with the Quizlet, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about and where I'm going from there. Okay, the next one is a Greek philosopher who taught Alexander the Great, started a famous school, and studied with Plato. Okay, a Greek philosopher who taught Alexander the Great, started a famous school, and studied with Plato. This is one of the biggest scholastics of the time. He was a philosopher, and that is Aristotle. Okay, he's one of the famous philosophers. So again, when they brought back education, when they brought back that idea of scholasticism, this was one of the big names that was being tossed around. This is one of the big names that they used when starting education back up again and getting that back to where it was. Okay. The next person that we're going to talk about made the most famous attempt to reconcile Aristotle with the doctrines of Christianity. Okay, he was also the author of the Summa Theologica. Okay, Summa Theologica, and he was a big scholastic in the Renaissance period. All right, and this was Saint Thomas Aquinas. Okay, Saint Thomas Aquinas was. He made the most famous attempt to reconcile Aristotle with the doctrines of Christianity. Remember that Summa Theologica was St. Thomas Aquinas taking secular questions and answering them with a religious background. All right, so that Summa Theologica, those 1,000 questions that were asked, he took the time to answer them, right, and compiled them all together, making the Summa Theologica. So the person who made the most famous attempt to reconcile Aristotle with the Christian doctrine is St. Thomas Aquinas. Okay? Now, the belief that emphasizes faith and optimism in human potential and creativity. The answer is in the definition. Okay? So when you're reading this, when you see this definition, the answer is right there. Okay? A belief that emphasizes faith and optimism in human potential and creativity is humanism. Okay? Socrates' most well-known pupil founded an academy in Athens. Okay, this is another one of the famous philosophers that we mentioned in Aristotle's definition, right? So Plato, okay? Plato is Socrates' most well-known pupil, founded an academy in Athens, okay? Plato. People who financially supported artists were known as patrons. Remember back during the Renaissance, the way that artists got their funding to pay for this work that they were doing and really to make a living was by people hiring them. The people who hired them were known as patrons. Okay, so it was people who financially supported the arts in a nutshell. Okay, so we see this today in actually YouTubers, right? YouTubers, influencers, all these groups of people. The way that they make their money is by getting sponsorships, right? Or patrons who pay for them to continue putting out videos and putting out posts and coming up with new content. All right, this is the same idea. The idea of a patron in the Renaissance period was someone who was paying someone to come up with new artwork, to come up with new paintings, to come up with different things and new creative ways. Okay, So people who financially supported artists were known as patrons. All right? Excuse me. An Italian painter, sculptor, engineer, scientist, and architect. So now when we get into these artists, right, the four big artists, it gets a little different because a lot of them kind of double dipped in different things. Okay, so a lot of them are going to be painters, a lot of them are going to be sculptors, engineers, scientists, architects. So you need to pay very close attention to each definition and where you put them. Okay, so this one is an Italian painter, sculptor, engineer, scientist, and architect. And that was Leonardo da Vinci. Okay? So a sculptor and painter, architect from Florentine, who painted the Sistine Chapel. Okay, that's going to be the kicker in this definition. He painted the Sistine Chapel. Okay, Michelangelo. All right, so these artists are all going to get a little confusing, but when it gets down to the detail, that's where you're going to be able to separate the three of them, or the four of them, really. Okay. An Italian Renaissance painter. He painted frescoes, his most famous being the School of Athens. Okay, so each of these artists are famous for something in particular. Okay, so we'll go back to Da Vinci. Da Vinci was one of the few Italian painters, Italian artists, who was also an engineer, scientist, and an architect. Okay, so that's how you can tell Da Vinci. All right, Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel. So on top of being a sculptor, painter, and architect, he painted the Sistine Chapel. That's Michelangelo. And then Raphael was an Italian Renaissance painter. He painted frescoes. So that was his kind of that's what he was best known for, right? That style of painting, fresco. And do a little extra credit opportunity here. When you post your test, right, after you take it and you finish it and you submit it to Shobi, add a little note on what a fresco is. Okay, what is that fresco style of painting? And I'll give you 2 points extra credit. 2 points extra credit for telling me what a fresco is. Okay, so Raphael was famous for that fresco style of painting. Okay, he's also most famous for beginning for that painting the School of Athens. Okay, and then another Florentine sculptor famous for his lifelike sculptures. Okay, he was and this is Donatello. Donatello was famous for giving life to these inanimate sculptures, these inanimate objects, right? So as he sculpted his works of art, right, he made sure that there was that detail, the wrinkles on the finger, the wrinkles on the face, the hair had that lifelike feature. He made sure that when you were looking at this sculpture, it looked the most lifelike as possible. It wasn't just a block of marble. This was a person, a stone person, right? So he made sure to put those lifelike features into his works, and that was Donatello. Okay, Donatello was a Florentine sculptor, famous for his lifelike sculptures. Okay. So now we're moving into the important people of the Renaissance. All right, a statesman of Florence who advocated a strong central government. Okay, this was Niccolo Machiavelli. All right, Niccolo Machiavelli was a statesman of Florence who advocated a strong central government. All right. Another statesman, this time from England, an English statesman who opposed Henry VIII's divorce from Catherine of Aragon and was imprisoned and beheaded. Okay, an English statesman who opposed Henry VIII's divorce from Catherine of Aragon and was imprisoned and beheaded. This was Sir Thomas More. All right, Sir Thomas More. an English poet and dramatist, considered one of the greatest English writers. This one should be easy. Okay? An English poet and dramatist, considered one of the greatest English writers. If any of you guys are taking Ms. Delanoise's class, if any of you guys, hopefully she mentions it in Ms. Martinez's class, hopefully she talks about him in her class. You guys should have heard this name before already, William Shakespeare. You guys, I know for a fact that all of you guys are reading or watched Romeo and Juliet, or read Romeo and Juliet, or heard of Romeo and Juliet. The mastermind behind Romeo and Juliet, William Shakespeare. Okay? The author of Paradise Lost. Okay, the author of Paradise Lost is John Milton. Okay? The gentleman who wrote Don Quixote de la Mancha. Okay? And I'm sure you've heard of Don Quixote in your Spanish classes, be it at PACE or in middle school if you ever took Spanish. You heard of Don Quixote. This is Miguel Cervantes. Miguel Cervantes wrote Don Quixote. Right? This person developed his own celestial model of heliocentric planetary systems. Okay? Developed his own celestial model of a heliocentric planetary system. Right? This is Johann Copernicus. Johann Copernicus. Right? An Italian astronomer and mathematician who was the first to use a telescope to study the stars. Okay? The first person to use a telescope to study the stars, and that's Galileo Galilei. Galileo Galilei. They kept it very simple with the names. Galileo Galilei. Okay? French philosopher and mathematician, René Descartes. Descartes. Okay? He was a French philosopher and mathematician, René Descartes. Developed the scientific method, Francis Bacon. Okay, so Francis Bacon developed the scientific method. If you don't like the scientific method, you have him to thank for it. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then last, but definitely not least, he described the laws of motion and of gravity. And this is Sir Isaac Newton. Okay, so Sir Isaac Newton described the laws of motion and of gravity. Okay, so again, I just went down the list on the Quizlet, and we kind of went over all these things for the actual test itself, and I'm going to put it up as soon as I upload this video. I will put it up. You'll probably see that before you see my video, because that's the way you guys work. But I'm going to put up the test right now as soon as I put this video up. Remember I mentioned it's only going to have 20 words. Okay, so one of these words may not be in there, actually will not be in there. I can't tell you which one it is. I can't tell you which one's going to be left out. I randomize it, but one will be left out. So I'm going to submit it. I'm going to put it up, and you guys can take it. Okay, I'm going to make it due on Sunday, so you have a couple days. Try your hardest. Do it once. Do it once. At most, I'll let you take it twice. Actually, you won't even know what you get until I grade it. So, do it. Try to take it like if it's an actual test. Don't look back at your stuff. Test yourself, guys. If you cheat, you're only cheating yourselves. Okay? If you cheat, you're only cheating yourselves. If you get a lot wrong, I'll send it back to you, and I'll give you another opportunity to take it. Okay? But you have until Sunday to do this test and turn it in. I'll give you guys until Sunday. All right? And don't forget the extra credit opportunity. Don't forget the extra credit opportunity. It's a couple points that you can get that you can add on to your score. It's gonna be 2 points for telling me what a fresco is. All right, a fresco. Okay, so again, keep up with the work. There's some of you guys that are still missing work. Don't forget to log into Plus Portals, to Shobi. Stay on top of everything. Don't let anything slide away. Don't miss anything, because if you miss things now, it's gonna. If you thought making up work when you were in class was difficult, making up work and trying to get a hold of your teachers after, like when you're not in school and we don't see each other every day, is gonna be 100 times harder. Okay, so stay on top of everything. Log into Shobi, log into Plus Portals, stay on top of your work. If you haven't done my work, please, for God's sake, do the work. Just turn it in. It's not that difficult. All right? And I'll see you guys when I see you. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Vampire cough. Vampire sneeze. Don't be gross. Laters.